Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Patience. In today's video I'll be sharing with you guys how I made this beautiful pleated high-low circle neck design top with a bishop collar. Before we get started, kindly click the subscribe button. If you have done that, let's get into it. I'll be using this fabric for this tutorial. It is a crepe fabric and one side of the fabric is stretchy. It is 2.5 yards. I'll be using this lace fabric on the hem of the sleeve and I'll be drafting on this pattern paper. I've gone ahead to mark the shoulder line and I'll be marking half of my shoulder width, that is 8 inches, plus ½ inch for sewing allowance, that's 8.5 inches. I'll be adding sewing allowances to this pattern. So from the 8.5 inches, I'll go down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant and I'll mark 3 inches for the neck width. For the neck depth, I'll be using 1 inch for the back piece and I'll be using 3 inches for the front piece. So I'm using 3 inches because I want the neck to be a bit free. So you can use 2.5 inches if you want it tight. I'll go ahead and slant the shoulder. After doing that, I will mark my chest line, which is also the armhole line, that is 8 inches. In order to get a straight line, I'll mark 9 inches from the shoulder line. After doing that, I'll bring down the shoulder measurement on this chest line and connect it this way. I'll mark quarter of my bust circumference, which is 10.5 inches. I'll be adding ½ inch for ease because it's a free top and 1 inch for side seam, that is 12 inches. Now I'll mark the midpoint of this line, which is 4 inches. For the front armhole, I'll go in by 3/4 inch and the back armhole, I'll go in by ½ inch. Using my armhole curve, I'll go ahead and curve the arm side of the back and the front. After doing that, I'll mark my shoulder to bust point and shoulder to waist and shoulder to the full length of this top, which is my shoulder to hip, that is 26 inches, and 1 inch for hemming allowance, that's 27 inches. I'll go ahead and extend the lines. After doing that, I'll bring down this 12 inches on the bust line and I'll mark quarter of my waist circumference plus 1 inch for ease because it's a free top and 1 inch for side seam. I'll also mark quarter of my hip circumference, that is 11 inches plus 1.5 inches for ease and 1 inch for side seam, and I'll connect it this way. I'll add ½ inch on the shoulder for side seam and I'll cut it out. I'll cut out the back neckline and the back armhole because I'll be using this as a pattern to cut out the back piece. To avoid this sharp edge, I'll go up by 1.5 inches or 1 inch and make a curve this way and cut it out. I'll be using this to cut out the back piece. After doing that, I'll go ahead and cut out the neckline and the armhole for the front piece. Now I'll be using this pattern to cut out the high-low circle design on the neck. So this is folded into two. The length of this pattern is about 39.5 inches and this is 14 inches. Divided by 2 is 28 inches. I'll open it up this way and I'm going to mark the length of the circle on the middle of the front piece, that is from this point to this point. I'll be using 12 inches for that. Remember, I took out 3 inches for the neck depth, so in total it is 15 inches. So I'm going to mark the 15 inches on this pattern paper, starting from this line. After doing that, I'll trace out the neck of the bodice. I'm placing it on the 12 inches this way, as you can see, and I'll trace it out. After doing that, I'll turn the bodice over and also trace out the neckline this way. this is the exact neck round of the bodice, so I'll be pleating round the neck. To do that, I'll need to expand the neck to have enough fabric. So I'll mark 6 inches and I'll use the bodice as a guide to make the curve this way. Then I'll connect it this way. Of my shoulder width is 8 inches and I added ½ inch for sewing allowance, and I took out 3 inches for the neck width, so I'll be left with 5.5 inches. So I'll be using 5 inches now for the shoulder. That is from this point to this point. I'll go ahead and mark the 12 inches round this way, and then I'll connect the points. This curved line is 13 inches, so I'll go ahead and mark the midpoint, that is 7.5 inches, and extend it this way. So I stopped marking the 12 inches about 2 inches before the midpoint. Now I am going to connect it down to the 5 inches this way, or make sure I have a smooth transition. So this is the 5 inches for the shoulder. Now on this part, I am going to be cutting this on fold on my fabric. When I had to cut it out on fold on my pattern paper, I use a sellotape to join it, as you can see. So I'll be pleating this on the neck, so I'll be using the pattern paper to explain. To make my pleat, so this is the midpoint. Starting from the midpoint here, I'm going to mark 3.5 inches. So I'll be marking 3.5 inches this way. I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'll mark 3.5 inches space for my pleat. After doing that, I'll place it on the bodice this way and pin down the midpoint. So I'll be pleating the 3.5 inches I just marked. As you can see, the folded edge of the pleat is facing the midpoint. I'll go ahead and pleat all through the neck using the 3.5 inches this way. So this is about 1 inch space, so you want to make sure when you are pleating, the space that is close to the neck should be 1 inch. So before I pleat the last one, I'll align the shoulder this way and pin it down. So you can see the pleats are facing the midpoint, and I have about 4 pleats here. I'll do the same thing on the other side, and this is how it is going to come out on the fabric. I'll be doing the same thing on the fabric. As you can see, I have 8 pleats here, so you want to make sure they are equal, and you can go ahead and trim the excess. Also on the neck, if you have any excess, you can go ahead and trim it out. I've gone ahead to cut this out on my fabric. I'm going to be attaching it to the dress, so I'll place the bodice this way, the right side, and I'll align the midpoint. So I am placing the wrong side of the neck design on the right side of the bodice. I'll pin it down, and I'll go ahead and mark the 3.5 inches round, and I will make my pleat. I've done that. I made sure to pin down the midpoint this way before I make my pleats, and I ensure the pleats are equal. Now I am going to join the shoulder by 1/2 inch, and then I will press it down to keep the pleats in place. I've done that, and this is how it came out. I'll be making the keyhole on the back piece. To do that, I'll be using this piece of fabric. This is 3 inches by 6 inches. I am going to place it on the right side this way and pin it down and align the midpoint. I'll mark the length of the keyhole, which is 5 inches, and I'll mark 1/4 inch on both sides this way and make a V shape. I'll be sewing on the marked line. I've done that. Now I'll cut through the midpoint this way and notch. Turn it to the wrong side and fold it this way and make a top stitch. I've done that. So that is it for the back piece. Now I'll be joining the front and the back piece together. So I've gone ahead to join the shoulder and also the side seam, and I've also hemmed. So you can go ahead and serge round the neck design. I'll be cutting out the collar. To do that, I'll measure round the neck. And what I have here is 20 inches. We're using a collar stand to cut that out. I've gone ahead to fold the collar stand into 2 this way. On fold, I'll mark 10 inches and I'll go up by 1.5 inches. After doing that, I'll bring my top and measure from the keyhole to the shoulder line this way. What I have here is 4 inches. I'll go ahead and mark the 4 inches from the folded edge this way and use a curved ruler to connect the 4 inches to the 1.5 inches. Now I'll mark the length of the collar stand, which is 3/4 inch. I'll mark it round and connect it this way. I'll mark the 10 inches on this new curved line and I'll connect it to the other line at angle 45 degrees this way. The folded edge is going to be the back, so I'll label it as B and cut it out. And I'll label the opened edge as F this way, and I'll cut through the folded edge and place it this way. So I'll be cutting it out on my fabric this way. Now I'll place this piece of collar stand on the midpoint and iron it on my fabric. So I've pressed the collar stand on my fabric, and as you can see, I marked 1/2 inch round. I'm going to cut it out. I'll place it on another fabric this way and fold this part, the 1/2 inch, and pin it down. I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'll fold in the 1/2 inch this way and pin it down. Using a bias tape to cut out the buttonhole. So what I did was I folded the bias tape this way and fold it again. So I fold it into 3 and make a top stitch to get a tiny piece like this. Now I am going to be using like about 2 inches for the buttonhole. I'll fold it this way and place it in between this way. I'll make sure the folded edge is inside and the opened edge is outside. I'll pin it down. So this part is the 20 inches that I'll be joining on the neckline. So I'll be sewing on this other curved part. Starting from this folded edge, I'll sew directly on the collar from this point down to this point. I've done that. and I'll cut it out. And the part that I sew, I am going to notch and bring it inside out. I'll make sure to press. So this is how it came out. This is the button hole. Now I'll attach it to the dress. I'll place the right side of the collar stand on the wrong side of the neckline this way and pin it down and sew round by 1/2 inch. I've done that and this is how it came out. Now I am going to make a top stitch. I'll fold it this way, push in the raw edges and make a top stitch. I've done that and this is how beautiful it came out. Now I'm going to be cutting out the sleeve. I have a detailed video on how to draft a basic sleeve. I'll put the link on the description box. The total length of this sleeve is 25 inches. So I'll be cutting out 17.5 inches. I'll be using the rest to cut out the lace fabric. So I'll be using 1/2 inch on this upper part to join to the dress. I'll cut out 17.5 inches. Cutting this other part using the lace fabric, I'll add 1/2 inch for joining allowance. I've done that. Now I'll place the right sides together this way and sew by the 1/2 inch. After doing that, I'll turn it over this way and sew on the side seam, hem the sleeve and attach it to the dress. I've done that. I've attached the lace and I've also attached the sleeve to the dress, and this is how really beautiful it came out. I've also attached a button, as you can see. If you have not subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? If this was helpful, kindly give this video a thumbs up and also click on the subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell to be updated when I upload a new video. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.